This is Rhonda Brooks of Farm Journal Media, and I'm here at the 2013 Corn College with Isaac Ferrie, an agronomist with Crop Tech Consulting. And Isaac, today you're going to be talking about herbicides, weed control, and different modes of action.
That's right. With the increase of resistance happening out there, we've definitely been pushing guys to start to mix up their chemical program and add some different modes of action, even tank mix them together, which in itself has created some new problems that we've seen out there this past year. When we start to use more modes of action, we are starting to use chemical families that we haven't used in a long time. Ever since the days of Roundup, it's just been Roundup, Roundup, Roundup. Now with these new modes of action out there, we're more likely to have drift complaints where we get into neighbors, tank contamination, stuff like that. So we're going to go through the modes of action and teach the farmers what those different damages look like. So different modes of action are going to affect the plant differently. And we're going to go out there and look at corn and bean plants that we've actually sprayed different modes of action on and be able to identify what mode of action or site of action was sprayed upon that plant just by looking at the damage it caused.
Let's go back and talk about some of the challenges. You said that a couple of things that you're seeing is going back and you're using some older chemistries, and guys just aren't accustomed to having to use them, so they require some different management practices.
Exactly. So you got to be a little more diligent in cleaning out your tanks and everything else, moving from field to field. And also, if you're spraying Roundup, you realize that the field next to you has a high chance of being Roundup ready as well. So a little bit of drift here or there probably isn't that much of a concern. As we move into start to move into some of these other herbicides, we never know whether the field next to us is tolerant or not. In most cases, it may not be. So therefore, drift becomes a much bigger concern. Contamination becomes a bigger concern as we start to switch from one mode of action to another throughout the day on our spraying.
Can you give us a couple of pointers on tank clean out?
Tank clean out is make sure you be thorough and that you're rinsing the tank multiple times throughout there. You can use some of the commercial tank cleaners on the market. The other thing is making sure that your boom gets cleaned out as well. When you look at, say, like a 90-foot boom with a 1-inch hose on it, you can almost hold enough to do an acre to an acre and a half of herbicide at a rate of 10
if you haven't cleaned it out well?
So if you haven't cleaned it out well, so if that boom's still full of whatever you sprayed last time, you could spray for an acre or two before you even get the new product in. So there's definitely room for contamination in that regard, making sure you get your booms flushed out all the way.
All right. Is there any way to tell that you've done a good job?
Not really. Besides,
just follow the steps.
You're not going to be able to see. You're going to have to just clean and clean and clean.
All right. And then you said, as far as drift, man, I used to hear a lot about drifting, 15 years ago, but you don't hear as much about it today, but it is going to become more of a challenge.
I think it is going to become more of a challenge. In the past, we've been worried about the wind concerns when we're spraying, and most of that is because of off-target, getting our pesticides off-target. Not so much that we're concerned about the drift, but that it's not going to hit the weeds that we intended and we don't get the kill that we want. Now, as we start to use some of these modes of action in our post applications of corn and soybeans, we're going to be more concerned with the drift we cause and damage we cause to the neighbors rather than not hitting the leaves.
Okay. Any pointers there as far as they're starting to use some of these new chemistries too? Using
the old chemistries again. As far as pointers, just not spraying on windy days. Realize that you may have to shut it down during certain times of the days if the wind gets too bad. There's a bunch of different stuff on the market, weather stations. There's even mobile weather stations you can mount on your sprayer. Let you check the wind speed. Not only check it, but record it as well. So if you ever have a drift complaint come back, you can go back and check what exactly that wind was on the day, whether it was, if it was conducive to you spraying, then you can prove that. If it was conducive to drift, then you know that you may have a problem.
All right. Well, Isaac, thank you for your time.
No problem.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roundup.